Hello. Buenos días y bienvenidos. Oh, thank you. Love is the spirit of all souls, and service is our law. It is so good to be together with you today, and I want to remind you that you're a gift. Our theology supports that you are made of the good stuff. And no matter what mistakes may have come before this moment, that good stuff is always calling you to do better. I invite you, in the spirit of knowing that you are awesome, to rise in body or spirit and greet another awesome person today. You may introduce yourself with your name and your pronouns if you feel comfortable. Good morning, awesome people. Hello. That is so cool. I have never seen those before. Those are awesome. Good morning. I'm glad to see you're prepared with a blanket. I did this with layers today. Good morning, Jennifer. We're good. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. That
Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. And I might know you're mine. And I'll give you hope when hope is hard to find. And I give you a song of joy in the winter time. Come sing a Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me. And I might know you're mine. And I bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me. And I might know you're mine. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and rose in the winter time. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me. And I might know you're mine. And I give you hope when hope is hard to find. And I bring a song of joy in the winter time.
Good morning. And welcome to all of you who are here with us in the moment and to those who will be catching us later on. My name is Emily Salinas. My pronouns are she, ella, and today I'll be serving as your worship associate, together with Nancy Olson, our Director of Congregational Life and Faith Formation, Reverend Katie, our Senior Minister, whose pronouns are she, ella, and Gabe Perbieri, our music director, pronouns he, him. We are your worship team on the chancel this morning. People of all ages are joyfully welcomed in service. However, we do have nursery care if that is the option that works best for you. At the end of your pews, you should see a colorful connection card. I invite you to fill this out. It's a great way to let us know if you need support, assistance, have new contact information, or just if you have an interest or comment. So you can place this in the offering basket. Again, thank you for being here and welcome.
Thank you, Emily. I have a few short announcements. First, we are collecting coats. There's a coat drop outside of the main office. We're looking for children's coats, all sizes. They're due by November 13th. You can bring them in during the week. You can bring them in on Sunday. These coats are for some folks in the community related to the East Coast Migrant Head Start Project. So we appreciate all of the contributions. The labyrinth is up in the atrium, and we invite you to come in throughout the week and use the labyrinth. Come in, have a nice walk on the labyrinth, find a space to sit down, have a cup of coffee, have a glass of water. Come into this space that holds our community. Our church is so much more than Sunday mornings in small groups. It is a gathering place all week long. So know that the space is open and available to you. And on Tuesday evening, doors open at 6:30, or you all have codes. Members have codes, so they're always open to you. But at 6:30, for those who don't have codes, we're going to have folks coming in for our 7 o'clock service. We are holding the light on election night. The other 3 Unitarian Universalist Indy Metro congregations are joining us in person and online. Everybody's bringing friends. So we hope to have a packed house. There'll be food afterwards. Some folks are bringing games and puzzles. I heard tell there's a standing Connect 4 coming. So we are going to have food and community and connection on election night here. So I hope you will come and you will join us. We could also use some volunteers in the kitchen. If you're interested, please give me a holler. It's a relatively light lift for kitchen duty. Today, after service, we're having a congregational meeting in the social hall. Everyone is welcome to attend, so we're going to head right out the double doors, go to the social hall. I don't get between anyone and their coffee or snack, so grab a coffee or snack, come have a seat at the table, and we will have a conversation in our congregational meeting. As we lean into our time together, let us acknowledge the land itself and those who have sustained it throughout the generations. We are upon the unceded land of the Lenape, Miamia, Kaskaskia, Shawnee, and Kickapoo people who were pushed from their lands and whose children have been stolen for generations. As we strive to be a community of justice, may we continue to find ways to make real reparations. We give to you this poem by Amanda Gorman. We gather at this hallowed place because we believe in the American dream. We face a race that tests if this country we cherish shall perish from the earth, and if our earth shall perish from this country. It falls to us to ensure that we do not fall for a people that cannot stand together, cannot stand at all.
We are one family, regardless of religion, class, or color. For what defines a patriot is not just our love of liberty, but our love for one another. This is loud in our country's call, because while we love freedom, it is love that frees us all. Empathy emancipates, making us greater than hate or vanity. That is the American promise, powerful and pure.
Divided, we cannot endure, but united, we can endeavor to humanize our democracy and endear democracy to humanity. And make no mistake, cohering is the hardest task history ever wrote. But tomorrow is not written by our odds of hardship, but by the audacity of our hope, by the vitality of our vote.
Only now, approaching this rare air, are we aware that perhaps the American dream is no dream at all, but instead a dare to dream together. Like a million roots tethered, branching up humbly, making one tree. This is our country, from many, one, from battles, won. Our freedom sung, our kingdom come has just begun.
We redeem this sacred scene, ready for our journey from it. Together we must birth this early republic and achieve an unearthly summit. Let us not just believe in the American dream, let us be worthy of it.
Miss Bonnie, one of our teachers with the children, is going to light the chalice this morning. Thank you, Bonnie. This ritual of lighting our chalice reminds us to continually renew our promise to live into our covenant, to put love into action, and to live out this community of love and justice that we aim to be. So if you would please rise in body or spirit as we share the words that are printed in your order of celebration. We will say the words in Spanish first. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia, y el servicio es su ley, vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad en el amor, y amarnos unos a otros. Este es nuestro pacto. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law, to dwell together in peace, to sing the truth in love, and to help one another. This is our covenant. And please stay seated, or standing. Yes? Okay, please stay standing for our hymn.
To our visitors, we have two hymnals. We're singing from the Teal hymnal now, number 1017.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. Each number every day. We are
Please join me in taking a few moments to note that which is currently bringing joy or sorrow to our community. Indra and Mark Frank, longtime members of All Souls, will be moving to California this week to be closer to family. Indra has been instrumental in many things environmental here at All Souls: the Green Team, Green Sanctuary, Pollinator Garden, along with many other contributions to the board, children's programming. We have cards for the Franks in Harris Hall for you to sign and send Indra and Mark gratitude and good wishes on their journey. Let us hold a moment of silence together for the joys and sorrows in our hearts that are yet unnamed.
Still sitting, I'm going to invite you to take this moment to think a little bit and to sing with me as you learn this new song. It's very short and very simple, and we will talk about breathing and listening to ourselves, listening to our pains, listening to our joys. So the first little verse is listen to heartache and listen to grief. Be still and breathe. Be still and be. Listen to heartache, listen to grief. Be still and breathe. Sing with me. Be still and breathe. Be still and be. Listen to heartache, listen to grief. Be still and breathe. The second little verse is a little more happy, a little happier. So listen to gladness and listen to joy. Be still and breathe. Be still and be. Listen to joy. Be still and breathe. One more time. Be still and breathe. Be still and be. Listen to gladness, listen to joy. Be still and breathe. The third verse, we're going to listen to sorrow and we're going to listen to pain. Be still and breathe. Be still and be. Listen to sorrow, listen to pain. Be still and breathe. One more time. Be still and breathe. Be still and be. Listen to sorrow, listen to pain. Be still and breathe. The next verse, we're going to be singing that we are listening to me and listening to you. Be still and breathe. Be still and breathe. Listen to me, listen to you. Be still and breathe. The next verse, we're going to listen to anger and listen to hurt. Be still and breathe. Be still and be. Listen to anger, listen to hurt. Be still and breathe. One more time. Be still and breathe. Be still and be. Listen to anger, listen to heart. Be still and breathe. In our last verse, we're going to sing that a few times, and I want to invite you to close your eyes and listen to your feelings and listen to your brain and breathe accordingly in a way that we can make sure our body is adjusted and relaxed and allowing ourselves to feel what we need to feel in this complicated month of the year. Be still and breathe. Be still and be. Listen to feelings, listen to brain. Be still and breathe. One more time. Be still and breathe. Be still and be. Listen to feeling, listen to brain. Be still and breathe. Now very quietly one last time. Be still and breathe. Be still and be. Listen to feelings, listen to brain. Be still and breathe.
And that is your message for the week. Be still and breathe. Be still and breathe. I'm going to talk a lot about feelings today. And I'm going to talk about a model by SAMHSA, which is an incredible mental health organization. And they put out something called the phases of disaster. And we're going to talk a little bit about that as we get into our service today. And you're probably thinking, like, I don't want to talk about disaster today. Like, I'm coming to church for hope. And we're going to get there. But just breathe. There's a reason for this, I promise. So there's a theory called Capucinian hypnosis. And in this theory, we think of our minds kind of like a circle. And think about your conscious mind as like the hard can-do shell around your circle. And what we know about the subconscious is that, honestly, like 88% of your mind is mostly subconscious. So a lot of what we do happens on autopilot. And once something gets into our subconscious mind, it just kind of keeps running in the background. So that means when we wake up in the morning, we only have about 12% of our conscious minds running for us. And we've got all these things running in the background. So if you have chronic pain anxiety, if you have anyone in the household at all that makes noise, from the second those eyes open, there's already all these message units working on that hard candy shell. And unlike M&Ms, it melts fast. So you get out of bed, you stub your toe, more message units. Those tapes start running about what you got in your day, more and more message units. Before you know it, that hard candy shell is gone. You're standing in your bathroom and you can't remember what you're doing there. And that right there is a sign that you are literally walking in hypnosis, that you literally are running only on your subconscious. So you'll see this play out, like if you've ever tried to start a new habit. You know, you start out your day and you're like, all right, I'm getting to the gym. Getting to the gym after work today, getting to the gym. And if you think about your mind as like a forest, you know, in the morning the lights are on. Well, now you're going through your day, you're pulling weeds to try to clear this new pathway. Well, before you know it, when you're standing in that bathroom and the lights are out, like the lights go out in your forest, and you just go right back down the other pathway, and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna go to the gym tomorrow, there's just too much on my plate today. And that's it, you just go down the familiar pathway. No shame, right? What we try to do is learn practices to understand what's happening in our subconscious minds and how to rewrite things so we can do things differently. In our tradition, in Unitarian Universalism, I cannot promise you anything with certainty. And our work means that we always have to work. We always have to create new pathways. And as I just explained, it's really hard to create new pathways. And we're going to be called a lot over the next week to try to keep love at the center. But how do we keep love at the center when we want to run down those old pathways within minutes of waking up in some cases? So that's why we're going to talk about the phases of disaster today, so we can understand a little bit about what might be running in your subconscious right now that you're not aware of. And we are going to learn to be still and breathe. Because when we get still and we breathe, this cool thing happens. Our nervous system starts to slow down. So even if we don't think we're anxious, just by noticing our breath, our breathing begins to slow and to deepen. And that hard candy shell comes back. The lights get turned back on in our forest, and we can make different choices. There's also something else that we can do in that place of stillness. We can feel our feelings. As human beings, in our culture, we spend a lot of time running from our feelings. Doom scrolling, reading. I know if I crush a book in a night, the book might be great, but it's not about the book. It's about something I'm probably avoiding, and what I need is to be still and breathe. So keep in mind, be still and breathe. Be still and breathe. That gives us a choice to put love at the center of whatever it is we're going to do next. So this wonderful jagged graph that you likely see in your orders of celebration. It might even be on the screen. Oh, look at that. The magic of AV. Thank you. If you all think back to when the pandemic started, we can use that as a way to understand this little graph. We had a warning. We were kind of in denial. A lot of people were in denial during that period of time. And then the threat got a little bit closer. We started to get a little nervous, and then there was an impact. And here's what happens when impact occurs. This is when everyone gets all the toilet paper. This is when we run out of wipes. This is because everybody's like, oh my gosh, I need this to survive. And especially those of us who have a history of going without, or if we have a history of trauma, we're in there. We're in there. And it's difficult unless we are still and we breathe to think about activating mutual aid structures or other ways that we can also be helping our neighbors during an impact phase. And psychologically, what happens in the impact phase is all of our illusions of control are stripped away. The rug is ripped out from underneath us. And we never have control. That's why we say illusions of control. In life, we have choices. We have choices, but we never know fully what the impact of those choices will be. And the impact phase reminds us that that sense of control is just fake. It is a false friend. Most times we don't hang out in this survival mode that long because we start to feel isolated. And as human beings, we crave connection and community. The pandemic taught us that. Whew, it really did. So we start to move and help others. And all kinds of chemicals and endorphins are released when we help other people. So the same bonding chemicals that a parent might have in holding a child for the first time, that we're biologically programmed to have, when we help others, we get a little jolt of these kinds of chemicals. So because it feels good, we start kind of chasing that. And this phase kind of goes on. And if you remember during the pandemic, this is when we were like, firefighters, we love you. We start appreciating people, and, pods started to form. And then we kind of moved into the honeymoon period where we're like, we got this. Kids are in school online, we survived it. It's not great, but we figured this out. We have increased our internet so that we can handle the extra bandwidth load. We moved back to multiple generations in some cases, participating in childcare. People moved to be closer to sources of support, and we kind of felt like we had it figured out. This is the honeymoon phase, where you think you're like, all right, I got this. There's still an end in sight, and for now, we have figured out how to do the thing. And then we started to slide into disillusionment. Disillusionment is spiritually important because this is when we start asking questions like, why God? If there is a God, why would this happen? Why are we watching millions of people die? What can we do to stop this? Will this ever end? And in disillusionment, we might have small bursts of creativity, but really, we're just trying to get by. We're just trying to get to the next thing. And this is when a lot of numbing behaviors happen in disillusionment. When more than ever, we need to be still and breathe. We need to know the power and the knowledge of knowing that we're in disillusionment. When you can name it, you can activate a self-care plan that will support you in moving through disillusionment. You're not going to go back to the high five phase, but you're going to have tools to navigate this time. Be still and breathe. Everyone, I want to thank Dorian for this incredible resource. If you don't have one of these self-care sheets for the election, please do grab one. He shared this with us at staff this week, and it has now made its way around the Unitarian Universalist Association. And actually, I shared it with my squadron as well in the Civil Air Patrol. But if you have a plan to support yourself, you will fare better than someone without a plan. Even if things don't happen exactly according to plans, the fact that you created a plan means that you will do better than someone without a plan. And these plans, they're not, it says for election, but these plans can come in handy for pretty much anything. You can hang this on your fridge and think about what your supports are and go through a worksheet like this at any time where you think you might need a little extra support in life. And look, I have a friend who's a poet, and he always, in one of his poems, he says, he talks about battling with life, and he says, who's going to win? Well, life always wins. Life is going to life. But if we have a plan to lean in and be present and breathe into joy when the joy is happening, if we have a plan to support us when we're in phases of disillusionment, then we're going to weather those times better. We won't get isolated. Isolation is the enemy. Community and empathy are the antidote. So as we're working our way through disillusionment, these things can happen. We can have setbacks. We can be triggered. Now, COVID was a thing because we were constantly getting triggered in that phase. So we would start, you might start to recover, and then something would happen, and boom, right back down in the dumps again. Start to get out of the hole, and boom, right back down in the dumps again. So we really needed our tools during that time to continue to navigate. But eventually we start to move towards a psychological and spiritual recovery phase where we start to make meaning. We actually start to process our grief. And figure out who we are now. We're still in this phase because we are learning to live in the presence of COVID. It's still here. Some of us are still losing people. Some of us are still getting sick and have been sick even recently. Life is different now. Society is different now. Our brains, because of what we've been through, our brains have changed. Our DNA has changed. Not because of the COVID virus, but we know in epigenetic studies that when someone goes through a trauma, there are gene codes that change. I'm not a geneticist, but I have read this on TV. I have read some studies. While we're in our meaning-making phase, something can happen. When I lost my dad in 2007, we lost him really suddenly. And that 2007 was a year for me, but losing my dad was probably the hardest part of that year. And that was also the year where I lost my job twice and then just decided to open my own PR and marketing firm. And that is when I became business partners with my still best friend. But she was really with me through that first year. And he died October 1st. And as September of the next year, 2008, she was like, "What's with you? You're so weird. Like, you're being weird." And what I realized is that my body I was like a little bit irritable and highly distractible. And I just, I was also a single parent, so that was complicated. But more so than usual, I just wasn't right. And I had this kind of like ambient, is the shoe gonna drop from somewhere? Did I leave something somewhere? Like, did I forget something? Did I forget something in the house? Is there a Cheerio on my jacket? Like, what's going on? She's like, you're being weird. And what we realized it was an anniversary reaction. my internal time clock was remembering that the loss was coming, that we were coming up on that loss. And here's where this is relevant. Every time a presidential election has come up since 2016, I try to resurrect aspects of this sermon, either in a class or as a sermon. Because in 2016, Unitarian Universalist congregations across the country experienced a massive bump. And I was at Cedar Lane. We had over 80 new members that year. 80 new members. People were afraid, disillusioned, feeling hopeless and craving community and connection. And for anyone who had a hard time in 2016, who felt the split and the challenges of divisions, maybe even in your own household, for sure, with other family and friends, you might be feeling a little not yourself right now. Be still and breathe. I spent about a year at an incredible organization. I was a nurse at an outpatient addiction treatment center. It was I worked in psych nursing multiple times in my first career. I loved it. Psych nursing was one of my favorite things that I did. And one of the things that we worked with folks on was being still and breathing and actually feeling our feelings so that we didn't turn to the things that weren't going to help us. And one of the first things we learned was that many of the folks in treatment never had quiet. There weren't safe places for them in various parts of their lives where there was quiet. Our doors are open. So if you need a place of quiet, come here and have a place of quiet. If you need a ride, let me know. But see if you can lean in. If you realize you're not feeling like yourself, or if someone mentions to you that you're not feeling like yourself, and be still and breathe. Eventually, we make it into recovery and reconstruction, where we're starting to dream about a new way of being. And while we might have flashes of recovery and reconstruction while we're in other phases, we find it difficult often to stay there. And I want to invite you to get joyful wherever you are on the spectrum about what the possibilities are. Possibility thinking is awesome. It is incredible, and it is a resiliency technique. Meaning that if we can put our minds towards something that we're excited about, that we might want to try, that a kind of person that we might want to become, it can help get us through difficult times. But let us not do that as a way of spiritual bypassing. And here's what I mean by that. You actually can't skip from one place on the timeline to the other. We must all go through valleys in our lives. This is the news that you probably don't want to hear. But we will all have valleys in our lives. We can be held, we can be supported by community in those times. I can't promise you that the footprints in the sand, while they're yours, that you were being carried by an unseen force. But I can promise you that in community, there is a force of love that we find within each other that can hold you as you make those footprints in the sand. Be still and breathe. Return to love and do the next right, loving thing. I had a cross-country coach when I was in high school, Coach Scanliata. I'm a terrible athlete, by the way, just in case anyone's starting to get illusions. But Coach always used to say, Romano, we had this hill. It was called Cardiac. He's like, Romano, stop looking at the top of the hill. Because, you get up to Cardiac, and that, in this particular course we ran, and it was ugly. I mean, it was high, and it was a slow climb, so it wasn't even like, you could just get up it real fast. No. It was like that awful, terrible mix of like steep and long. So he finally said to me one day, he's like, Romano, take a look at the top, and then I want you to look down and watch the top of your socks. And I was like, all right. And it was a whole lot easier to go up that hill looking at the top of my socks, doing the next right thing, instead of looking at the top of the hill going, oh, feeling like that dream where everything gets farther and farther away. So, be still and breathe. Harden that candy shell. Center love for yourself, compassion and empathy for yourself and others, and look at the top of your socks to get up the hill. And come here. There is a space here for you for quiet and community. You are not alone on this journey. Amen, and blessed be. Lean on me. We're going to sing Lean on Me. Yeah. That's right.
10 to 18 in the TL.
This week, we are sharing our offering plate with our UU Partner Church. The UU Partner Church in Transylvania is actually the place where Unitarian Universalism was legitimatized. And to this day, they still serve as a beacon for religious minorities in that area. In addition to this, they are also continuing to support the Ukrainian refugees. So to contribute, you can gift cash or a check into the collection plate, or if you are online, you can go to allsoulsindy.org, where you will find a link that says Give to All Souls here on the left side. Please indicate if your gift is a pledge payment or if it is for Share the Plate if you are paying online or using a check. Thank you all for your generosity in supporting the mission of All Souls and for your continued love for one another and for this world. The morning offering may now be given and gratefully received.
In a time full of war, be peace. In a time full of doubt, just believe. Yeah, there ain't that much difference between you and me. In a time full of war, be peace. In a world full of hate, be alive. When you do somebody wrong, make it right. You were born to shine in a world full of hate. Be alive. La 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 la. In a place that needs change, make a difference. In a time full of noise, just listen. 'Cause life is boundaries, better live it. In a place that needs change, make a difference now. In a world full of hate, be alive. When you do somebody wrong, make it right. You were born to shine in a world full of hate. Be alive. La 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 Yeah, you only get one go round. 'Cause the finish line is 6 feet in the ground. In a race you can't win, just slow it down. Be alive. When you do somebody wrong, make it right. Don't hide in the dark. You were born to shine in a world full of hate. Be alive. Yeah, it's hard to live in color. Yes, it's mercy, black and white. In a world full of hate. Be alive.
Thank you, choir. Thank you, Liz and Gabe. I offer you some words by Julia Fehrenbacher. I'm making a home inside of myself a shelter of kindness where everything is forgiven, everything allowed, a quick patch of sunlight to stretch without hurry, where all has been banished and buried is now welcome, spoken, listened to be released. A fiercely friendly place I can claim as my own. I'm throwing my arms open to the whole of myself, especially the fearful, full finding falling apart, unfinished parts, knowing every seed and weed, every drop of rain has made the oil and the soil richer. I will light a candle, pour a hot cup of tea, gather around the warmth of my own blazing fire. I will howl if I want to, knowing this flame can burn through any perceived problem and prescribed perfectionism and lying in limitation. Every heavy thing. I'm making a home inside of myself where grace blooms in grand and glorious abundance. A shelter of kindness that grows all the truest things. I whisper hallelujah to the friendly sky. Watch now as I burst into blossom. Breathe. Be still. Feel your feelings. Activate your plans and burst into blossom. Amen and blessed be.